Hello, this is Kathleen Landalt, and this presentation will cover copyright and fair use guidelines for sound recordings. What is copyright? Merriam-Webster defines copyright as the exclusive legal right to reproduce, publish, sell, or distribute the matter and form of something as a literary, musical, or artistic work. In other words, you own what you create. So how are sound recordings protected by copyright? Sound recordings were so new that they were not included in the Copyright Act of 1909. Many states included sound recordings under common law, which meant that the artist owned the recording forever. The U.S. Copyright Act of 1976 left copyright protection of recordings made prior to February 15, 1972 under state law until 2067. Recordings made on or after February 15, 1972 have federal copyright protection. All forms of sound recordings are covered under this act, including CDs, MP3s, WAV files, cassettes, and records. These sound recordings will receive copyright protection for 70 years after the death of the last surviving author. What is fair use? Basically, fair use is a principle of copyright that allows the public to use portions of copyrighted materials without obtaining permission from the author. While many teachers use this principle as a defense for reproducing copyrighted materials, not all educational uses of these materials are considered fair use. There are four main factors that determine fair use: the purpose and character of your use. In other words, what are you going to use it for? The nature of the copyrighted work, the amount and substantiality of the portion taken, and the effect of the use upon the potential market. In other words, are you taking money out of someone's pocket by using their work? So let's take a look at some scenarios we might see in the classroom regarding the copyright of sound recordings. One scenario we might encounter is face-to-face instruction. An example would be, as part of a unit on modern American culture, I would like to include recordings of current popular music in my classroom presentation. Well, in this scenario, there's great news. Under Section 110 of the U.S. Copyright Act of 1976, you would be able to use sound recordings for this purpose. This is allowed under Section 110 if the sound recording is legally obtained, the sound recording is being presented by or under the supervision of a teacher in the course of face-to-face instruction in a classroom or similar setting for instruction, and the sound recording is directly related to the content being delivered. In other words, it's not just background music or something fun for the students to listen to, it's actually connected to the lesson. Another scenario we may encounter is using sound recordings in products that can be viewed by people outside of your classroom. For example, you might say, my students are creating multimedia projects that will be part of a public website. Some of the students have expressed an interest in adding music to their project. Well, unfortunately, this is not covered by Section 110 of the U.S. Copyright Act. Legally obtained sound recordings can only be used in presentations for students officially enrolled in your class. Once you share these with the public, you are no longer covered by this code. The good news is you may still be able to use excerpts from sound recordings under fair use. According to Technology and Learning's Copyright and Fair Use Guidelines for Teachers, a maximum of 30 seconds of a musical recording may be used in a multimedia program that has an educational purpose. One other scenario we might encounter is music that is in the public domain. My elementary students are working on a class project and want to include a recording of a song that is in the public domain. Well, there's a difference here. The sheet music is in the public domain, and it may be used by anyone. The sound recording, however, may not be in the public domain. In fact, there is currently no music recordings in the public domain, so all music recordings are protected either by state or federal copyright laws depending on their age. So what can you do if you would like to use a sound recording of a song in the public domain? Well, in face-to-face instruction, as we've already seen, you can play a legally obtained recording of the song as long as it's an integral part of instruction. In a project that will be shared beyond the classroom, if you would like to use a specific recording, you will need to obtain permission, or use an excerpt according to fair use guidelines. Or you can create your own recording of the song using the arrangement that's in the public domain. The copyright laws surrounding the use of sound recordings can be very complex, especially for recordings made before 1972. When in doubt, it is best to contact the owner of the recording and obtain permission.